Hi, I'm Catherine Diorio, and this week on Check Please, business analyst Young Choi says the number of amazing noodle dishes at his selection add up to a truly tasty and authentic dining experience. But bartender Angela Klipp says sometimes you gotta mix it up a little and have a gourmet meal to start off your day. She says she knows just the spot. Up first, Judge Terry Lavin says his River North hotspot appeals to all of his senses. He says for high energy, amazing service, a cool room, and the best steaks in town, follow him to LaSalle Street and join him at Chicago Cut.
Chicago, the Midwest, is known for their hospitality, and it's very warm if you've ever experienced it, and so what we're trying to do is accentuate that to another level. When you come to Chicago Cut Steakhouse, you can expect the best. We start meals off traditionally with a lot of great shellfish and seafood, move into steak with our main course, and finish off with a great piece of cake, some traditional American desserts.
Yeah, it's Alaskan halibut, canned seared. There's going to be a charred lemon right on top.
We really try and take care of our customers. We look after them, learn their drink, learn their favorite bottle of wine. We learn that they like putting a little garlic on their spinach. We hope that they remember it was a magical room because the views were special, the people around them, there was a buzz in the restaurant like they had never seen before. The steak was just the best I've ever had. And we can make people really feel like this is their home. That's special to us. And we want to make it special for them when they come here.
So Terry, you say Chicago Cut is the prime place to be. Why'd you choose it?
Well, I chose it because to me, it's the utterly authentic example of the modern Chicago steakhouse. I mean, it's a place with phenomenal food, with a terrific location. You know how sometimes you go into restaurants and you sort of forget where you're at? Not at the Cut. Okay, you know exactly where you're at all times. I mean, you're right on the river, and you're in Chicago, which is a meat and potatoes kind of place. And they know how to deliver the meat, and they definitely know how to make some potatoes. The one thing I'll say about the steak that differentiates it from most places is that it's dry-aged USDA prime. And you know, you'd be surprised at how many places that you go to that call themselves steakhouses don't even sell prime. I get people asking me all the time, I've lived in Chicago my whole life, you know, I'm coming in from out of town, where should I take my customers or where should I meet my family? And you want to recommend a place that has energy every night of the week. And that's the #1 feature of the Cut. The place is always hopping, whether it's lunch or dinner. You know, there's energy in the room.
I thought it was excellent. Chicago's known, like Terry said, for being a meat and potatoes town, and the food was excellent, right? So there's so many different steakhouses there, and I feel like Chicago Cut was at or near the top of the places I've been to.
A cut above?
Yeah, yeah, the Cut, as Terry called it, right? So I want to be in the cool crowd and call it the Cut from now on. I guess that's what we're doing.
We'll welcome you in.
Yeah, the food was excellent. My sister had the prime rib, which is on special, and it was the biggest cut of prime rib I've ever seen.
It's like a catcher's mitt.
Yeah, so yeah, it was crazy. I had a bone-in ribeye, which is my typical go-to when I go to a steakhouse. It was cooked perfectly. Order it medium rare, had a nice little crust on it. The meat was cooked perfectly. It was delicious.
Question though, given the size of the portions, what did you think about the price points there?
So I thought they were higher than your typical steakhouse in Chicago, but at the same time, what we paid and the amount of food we got, I think it was a pretty decent value as far as the steakhouse goes, despite the high price point.
So I went with my partner, made a date night of it. I had an 8-ounce center cut. My partner got the lamb chops, actually. We wanted to try 2 different things, and they were amazing. And I really thought that lamb chop was a great deal. First of all, it was a huge portion. And just a really beautiful piece of meat.
I think they also do a great job at the lighter side of things. You know, they always have a couple nice seafood items like
The tower?
Yeah, that's very showy stuff, all the raw bar stuff. I like the job they do with the halibut. They serve it with a Greek salad. You've got anything from whitefish. You know, whitefish is a Chicago staple, to chicken piccata. But I think everything that they do well.
Yeah, we got some oysters to start, and they were beautiful. So yeah, I agree. I think some of the starters were some of my favorite things. We also got the heirloom tomato and burrata.
Yeah,
That was
that's a good
beautiful,
one.
prepared tableside. I know that it's a scratch kitchen, and you can definitely taste that. They make everything in-house. But yeah, I mean, just looking out, we both sat so that we could have the view. Our server and the host both were like, oh, sit in these seats so you can have this beautiful view of the river. And that's something very special.
The view is amazing. The fact that they have this patio that looks over the Chicago River. If you're looking for differentiators as far as steakhouses go in the Chicagoland area, since there's so many of them, and that was something that definitely put it a cut above the
Yeah,
rest.
just
So what'd
separates
you
it from the
think?
herd a little
Oh, yeah.
bit.
Well, I think the clientele makes it very vibrant as well. I mean, let's just cut to the chase. I mean, do you see famous people there, Terry?
I've only seen the president, the governor, U.S. senators, the mayor, Joe Madden.
You might see a judge or two.
Easy, counsel. So there's a little bit of people watching there as well, you know.
Well, the owner, David Plum, I mean, he's friends with so many people. He has such a wide network of contacts and really knows how to treat people, I think, which is something that keeps people coming back.
Yeah, I really thought I'm a firm believer that service is what makes a restaurant stand out, and I thought the service was wonderful.
They're
People
not
really
really fussy with you. You
No,
know?
yeah,
they're not
I had
lording
like
over you, I
funny
don't think.
conversations with our server. He bantered with us, and I really love that. I love being able to have a relationship with my server.
I did the same thing, so I feel like now we've gotten to a point in this society where we can go to nice restaurants and not be dressed up, right? So
Right.
I showed up in jeans and sneakers, and I didn't feel out of place at all. And,
Right.
and no one made me feel uncomfortable about that, and I felt right at home at Chicago Cut. It was awesome.
So very
Just don't come to
approachable
court
then.
dressed like
Yeah, no, Judge, I will never be in front of you, hopefully.
yeah.
Knock on wood.
Well, Terry, you chose Chicago Cut. Sum it up for us.
If it's family night, if it's out with business colleagues, and you want to splurge, the Cut's the answer to your question.
Angela?
It's a beautiful place to take somebody that wants to see classic Chicago in a beautiful setting.
And Young?
I would say it's another one of the great steakhouses in Chicago that's distinguished by the great patio and the view that it provides of the river and the rest of the skyline.
You can judge for yourself at Chicago Cut, 300 North LaSalle Street, 312-329-1800. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner Monday through Friday, and brunch and dinner on the weekends. Reservations are accepted, and the average tab per person without drinks is $65. Angela Clipp knows how to shake things up behind the bar, but when she dines out, she leaves the cocktails and cooking to the pros at her favorite place. It's on California, and it's called Café Marie-Jeanne.
Good food and a good time at pretty much any hour of the day. The daytime, we try to keep it pretty brunchy, and we have anything ranging from super accessible, like eggs and toast and jam, to a little more interesting, like we have a tart of crispy pigtails and onion jam, and we are also doing, I think I have like 4 different kinds of fish eggs in the menu right now. Oftentimes what'll happen is I'll come up with a dish for the dinner menu, say for example, duck frites. And I like it so much, but I don't understand why I would have to wait until it's dark in order to eat it, because what if I wanted to eat it at 11:30 in the morning? And I think maybe there's one guy out there who wants to eat it at 11:30 in the morning. So we have it on the menu all day long. You don't have to feel like there are these rules that might apply outside. We try to get people to let loose a little bit and make them feel like they're among friends. That's important for us.
So Angela, you say Café Marie-Jeanne always makes you feel warm and cozy. Why'd you choose it?
So I think Café Marie-Jeanne is a beautiful representation of what is happening in my neighborhood, Humboldt Park. There's so many new restaurants, and I just think Café Marie-Jeanne is the perfect representation of that. It's open morning, noon, and night. It's a great place that you can grab a cocktail and a quick bite or a full meal any time of the day. I love the fancy meats and fancy cheeses. I love that kind of tongue-in-cheek aspect of that. I think that their dinner menu is small, but I think it's excellent. Their veggie pot pie is like one of my most favorite butter-filled meals. But I love that it's a laid-back place you can go and feel comfortable bringing any group of people or sitting by yourself and just having a drink and reading a book.
I thought it was a Humboldt home run. I mean, I thought it was absolutely terrific. I love the look of the room. I love the eclectic menu. We went for brunch. I liked it so much. 2 nights later, I went back for dinner.
Wow,
And
that's an endorsement.
it's just the whole thing, you know, I mean, to have a definite reason to go to Humboldt Park, you know, this is a destination restaurant to me. I'm telling everybody I know about it. It really is great. You know, we had, our waiter was, I would say, OCD, which stands for one chill dude. You know, he was, you know, really laid back. And he was, I wanted to know about the history of the restaurant and tell me a little bit, like, huh? You know, but, you know, save that, everything else was just great.
I loved it. So I'm going to start with a hot take, and I hate brunch. So
Okay.
I generally don't like going out for brunch. I love the boozing and the engaging with friends part, but I just generally don't like the food. But here, I loved it. So there was 5 of us, and we had a bunch of the shared plates. So they had a small plate of the brisket and whatever accompaniments it came with. It was fantastic. We also had some smoked trout, which was kind of like a lox plate. It came with cream cheese and capers and onions and all that stuff. That was fantastic. And then the other thing I would say is the baked goods were fantastic. As soon as you walk in, the waft of the baked products was the first thing I noticed. It was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to have a croissant when I sit down.
I had the smoked brisket with some poached eggs, and I got a couple, I got the croissant with hazelnut and Nutella, I think. But the thing that you have to go back for is the griddle cakes. I mean, it sounds weird to talk about
you wouldn't
pancakes.
think that, like pancakes. I'm not one that would normally order pancakes, and I get them almost every time
A
I go in.
total standout. And it's not like a normal pancake. I don't know what the heck they do. Probably a lot of butter, okay?
Right.
You know, for dinner, I went with a friend of mine, and we split the duck frite. And, you know, a mound of huge home fries and then perfectly prepared duck. Very decadent would be my diagnosis. It's definitely shareable. We couldn't even come close to finishing it.
I saw that on the breakfast/brunch menu. I was just surprised that they had duck frite on that type of menu, and that was one of the reasons I said I'm going back, because I want to try that bad boy for breakfast at 8 o'clock on a Sunday. And usually at a restaurant of that size, they specialize in, I don't know, 10 or 15 things, and they had dozens and dozens of different things that all turned out excellent.
So my favorite is to go for breakfast, and I always get the breakfast sandwich, and I always like to get the lox with some salad greens. And that's one thing that I love about Café Marie-Jeanne is, you know, whatever you're in the mood for, you can make your ideal breakfast there.
So one of the things I noticed when speaking with all of you is that you all had breakfast cocktails.
The curatives, they call it.
Exactly.
Curatives.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta love that. I think their Bloody Mary is beautiful. Their wine list, I think, is so beautiful. It's small, but well curated. I love that there's a packaged goods section. You can go and pick up a bottle of wine and take it to
that
go.
party going.
Exactly, because that's what brunch is for.
Or you
Sunday
could-
fun day.
You can stumble across the street to the Clipper.
Exactly.
Well, that whole area, the chef, Michael Simmons, he came from Rootstock to open Café Marie-Jeanne and kind of continue that development of the area, because it's Haywood Cafe, there's Spinning J, which is like an old-fashioned soda joint, California Clipper, which I was going to in my 20s before it kind of got redone, so I've aged myself. But it's amazing to see everything happening in that area.
The neighborhood is just vibrant. I mean, it's really beautiful. There's no
yeah,
question.
it's a really
Absolutely.
special neighborhood, and I think that they've done a really good job over these past few years. So I've been living in Humboldt Park for 5 years now, of developing and bringing in you know, great new talent and new shops and new restaurants, while still maintaining the Humboldt Park feel of the neighborhood.
Well, Angela, you chose Café Marie-Jeanne. Sum it up for us.
So Café Marie-Jeanne is a great place to go morning, noon, or night if you want to grab a quick drink and enjoy some alone time, or to bring a great big bunch of friends.
Great. Terry?
The people there are great. The food is terrific. It's really a home run.
Great. Young?
I'd say a great brunch spot that has lots of different shareable plates and lots of different savory options for breakfast.
You can try it for yourself at Café Marie-Jeanne, 1001 North California Avenue, 773-904-7660. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day except Tuesdays. Reservations are accepted, and the average tab per person without drinks is $35.
At the Bar is made in part by the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau. Visit heritagecorridorcvb.com for more information.
Hi, I'm Angie Silverberg, and I'm from Antung in Chicago, and I'm at the bar. Today we're going to be making the It Takes an Empire from our restaurant. To start, we're going to be using thyme-infused Banhez Mezcal. This is a cousin of tequila, but sometimes made not just from agave, but also the espadín plant. Next, we have sloe gin. This is gin that's actually been steeped with sloe berries, and it gives it kind of a nice sweetness. Next, we have some Bitter Truth Golden Falernum. This is a rum-based liqueur. And finally, we have some Manzanilla Sherry, which is a type of Fino Sherry from the Manzanilla village, also named for the fact that it actually kind of tastes like chamomile tea, which in Spain they call Manzanilla. Finally, a little lemon juice to brighten it up, and give it a good shake. There you have the It Takes an Empire.
Young Choi knows that there's a noodle craze going on all over Chicago. But he says don't get pushed into some average spot. Get the handmade magic and creativity of Katy's Dumpling House.
I believe they are expecting to get some food very authentic, like the Mandarin style, and mostly should be from the northern east flavor. Our specialty actually is the flour-made food, like the hand-pulled noodles and dumplings. And after an exhausted day, they like to try our food to really relax and feel the way that Chinese cook, how Chinese cook.
My restaurant is food. You need pastillas, boiled dumpling. You need a pan-fried pork bun, beef noodle soup. Delicious. It's very, very good. It's Chinese food.
I think they will say they really eat a restaurant that's ridiculous good. Yeah, because if anyone has traveled to China and they came here, they will say they really eat the food the same as in China.
So Young, you say Katy's handmade noodles are where it's at. Tell us why you chose it.
So I love Katy's because they have handmade noodles that are atypical from most Chinese restaurants, right? So I love the fact that just like when you go to an Italian restaurant and you find out that their pasta is handmade, it kind of elevates the place a little bit.
Definitely.
When you find out that a Chinese restaurant has handmade noodles or hand-pulled noodles, it kind of like triggers something in my head where I'm like, all right, I have to try these things. My favorite dish there is this thing called the shredded pancake. So it's kind of weirdly named, right? Because it has nothing to do with a pancake, but essentially it's kind of roughly chopped noodles.
Strips,
Yep.
right.
And they stir fry it with different vegetables, and it provides this like great chewy and like crunchy texture, which I love. Then they also specialize in different kind of soup noodle dishes, I would say. So I've grown up Korean. One of my favorite things growing up as far as comfort food goes is large bowls of soup with different vegetables and different meats and seafoods. And so Katy's has multiple different types of options in that nature.
So I loved it. I thought the noodles were amazing. I had the Cantonese noodles, which were crispy and then had this thick sauce on them so that they then like held up over time. The portions are huge, so I ate it the next morning for breakfast, and it was still, like, the noodles still tasted wonderful. So I loved that. I will say that the menu is overwhelming, and I wish that they would highlight their noodles a little bit better. If I hadn't known to get the noodle dish, you wouldn't think to get the noodle dish.
That was one of my worst fears coming into this. I was like, man, I hope you guys ordered the noodles and stayed away from like the Kung Pao chicken or whatever they had, right?
You know, I thought it was known primarily as a dumpling place, right?
The dumplings are excellent too.
Pork chive dumpling that I had was some of the best dumplings I've ever eaten. They were really perfectly prepared. And it's sort of a surprising place because it's just a storefront. There's nothing that would recommend it from the outside as being, you know, anything out of the ordinary. But the dumplings were great. I had hot wok Hunan beef that was terrific. The pad thai was okay. But I thought that the quality of the food and the neighborhood that it's in, you know, if you're going to Oak Park, this is a great place to go.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is, again, because they specialize in a handful of different types of noodles and dumplings, I wish they almost didn't have kind of the massive menu of different Chinese
Massive?
dishes.
What do you mean? They only have 464 items.
Because honestly, I've been there multiple times and I've never touched anything outside of the kind of one page that has the noodles
Yeah, they
and
could
the
pare
dumplings.
it down.
And I know, I know why they do it.
Well, because it's very interesting. You know, there's Chinese American, but then there's some very traditional Chinese plates on there, and then in addition to the other Pan Asian menu items.
I went with my partner and then another couple, so we were 4, and 2 of us made sure to get noodle dishes, and then 2 people got something else, and my partner, Matt, was really having a hard time figuring it out, and so he asked a couple of questions, and they definitely answered his question, but they certainly did not provide any guidance, seeing that like he was lost. He wasn't sure like what was a good thing to get. He ended up getting the bibimbap, which was excellent.
I'm
I
glad
thought
you
the other
pronounced
dishes.
it because I wasn't sure how the heck. I was going to order it, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to say that exactly.
Well, I'm glad you liked it because I saw that on the menu too. And again, at a Chinese restaurant, I would typically not order something that's Korean because I know I definitely would have higher standards for it. So I'm glad you really liked it.
Yeah, I certainly think that the menu could be laid out a little more clearly. Like it wasn't. Every page says chef specials.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, wait, which one's the special?
And what they should have is just the confidence to know that they do some of this stuff really well. So why not highlight it?
I could tell that it was a place that people who live in Oak Park, like of all walks, is a great go-to place for them.
It's diverse in all the right ways, the community and the restaurant itself.
I saw a huge plethora of people. I saw an older couple. I saw a young group of seemingly high school friends going out to eat. I saw 2 families. And so I feel like that's the great thing about this restaurant, right, is like the price point, make it so that it doesn't have to be a special occasion. If you find yourself in Oak Park, it's a great place to pop in and get a quick bite, like while you're shopping.
It's a terrific community. I mean, it's so close to the city, and it's like the city, but it's like the suburbs, you know.
Right. I love that.
You have the sprawling lawns, but you're very close to the city.
I love it's such a quick way to get out of the hustle and bustle of the city.
And you can make a day of it. You know, there's the Ernest Hemingway Foundation's there. You can do the Frank Lloyd Wright tour. Yeah. So there's actually a lot to do there.
Yeah.
Well, Young, you chose Katy's Dumpling House. Sum it up for us.
I would say it's definitely worth the short trek out from Chicago to head to Katy's and enjoy the great handmade noodles and the soup dumplings.
Great. Terry?
If Oak Park is your destination and you want some great dumplings and great noodle dishes, this is a place that won't disappoint.
Great. And Angela?
If you find yourself outside Chicago and you want a quick, reasonably priced bite with either a group of friends or family, day or night.
You can try the dumplings, noodles, and more at Katy's Dumpling House, 1113 Lake Street in Oak Park, 708-383-9888. Open for lunch and dinner every day. Reservations are not accepted, and the average tab per person is $12. So on this week's show, we featured Chicago Cut in River North, Café Marie-Jeanne in Humboldt Park, and Katy's Dumpling House in Oak Park. Let's recap what our guests had to say. First, we rushed to LaSalle Street and feasted at Chicago Cut. Terry recommends it for an energetic Chicago steakhouse with phenomenal food. Young thought it was a cut above the rest with a comfortable environment. Angela thought the view and wine list paired well with her meal. Then we went west to California Avenue and visited Café Marie-Jeanne. Angela recommends it for a welcoming environment with great food, morning, noon, or night. Terry loved it and said it was a Humboldt Park home run. Young enjoyed the menu and said everything he ate was great. Lastly, we went out to the west suburbs and got a taste of Katy's Dumpling House. Young recommends it and says their handmade noodles are a must-try. Terry had some of the best dumplings of his life and he liked the neighborhood. Angela said the noodles were amazing, although the menu was a little overwhelming. We've had a wonderful time this week. I want to thank my guests, Terry Lavin, Angela Clip, and Young Choi. Join us next week for 3 new guests recommending 3 of their favorite restaurants right here on Check Please. I'm Catherine Diorio, and I'll see you then. Cheers. Thanks, guys. You guys are great.
For more information about the restaurants featured on Check Please, go to WTTW.com/checkplease.